it's April from the Flourishing Abode, and I want to thank everyone who gave ideas last week on the next challenge for my blog, and I'm really excited. Make sure you vote in the poll up above to pick out which one is actually going to happen. But this week I want to do something a little bit different, because fairly often people send me creative business questions about how I got started, how to make an online handmade business more successful and things like that. And I realized it would make a lot more sense, instead of answering them all individually, to answer them publicly here on the blog, where it would help more people, hopefully. So I have 4 questions here today from Sierra McLean, and her 4 questions are: 1, what steps do you need to go about to start an online creative business? Like, do I need a business license or a business number? What else do I need to do to make sure I'm properly set up? And then the second question, is it worth it to be self-employed? Speaking about taxes here. And the third question, how much do you keep on hand in stock, or do you make things as people order them? And then the last question, which is my favorite because I think it's the most fun, do you go all out on pretty packaging, or is simple packaging okay? So hopefully we'll go through these questions here in a way that'll be helpful for Sierra and for other people too. And if you have creative business questions of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if it seems like this is something people would like, I could choose from the questions that you leave and make another vlog next week to answer questions. But before I get into Sierra's particular questions here, there's a couple points I want to make just from my own experience that I think will be helpful going forward. One is, to start your own creative business takes a lot of research. I researched to death before I opened my shop. And while it does take research, the second point I want to make is, at some point you just have to jump in and do it. Once you get like the legal things taken care of that you have to do ahead of time, yes, have done your research, but at some point you need to just jump in, because there's nothing like actually doing it to learn it. I researched for about 1.5 years before I opened my first Etsy shop. But then over the course of 3 Etsy shops and 2 blogs, I learned so much more in that time from actually trying things out, making mistakes and learning from them, than I did in all that time of research. So, research, yes, you have to. You really need to research. But secondly, at some point, if you want to do it, you just have to jump in and give it a try. So now we'll jump into these questions. The first one is about what steps you need to take to start an online business, like the legal side of things, business numbers or licenses and things like that. This really varies depending on what you make and where you live. And here's what I would suggest you do to find out what you need to do for your particular online business that you're planning to set up. If you're going to be selling on Etsy, I would recommend joining a team on Etsy of sellers who make the same thing you do. So if you make edibles, join an edibles team. If you're planning to make soaps, join a soap maker team. And ask for advice on what kind of universal regulations there may be for that, because those are the type of things that I, as someone who sells something different, wouldn't know, but a seller in your own field would be able to help you out with. Next, you have to find out about the regulations for where you live. You need to find out about your state, about your county, and about your city. What business licenses you may or may not need, what tax information you may or may not need, and things like that. And you'll just have to research that for your own area, because it does vary state to state and so forth. Also, if you're planning to sell internationally, there are export laws on what you can send to what country. Like, you can't send magazines to Canada, and you can't send gold jewelry to Italy. Who knew? I didn't until I started researching it for my shop. And I'll include a link below for the USPS website where they go through country by country on what you can send. So those are the things you need to figure out legal-wise. Also, you need a way to be paid. So besides setting up your shop itself, you need a way to be paid. So probably PayPal is the most common. That's what I use. There are other options. You can research and see which one you prefer. But you'll also need, after getting the legal things, you have to have a way to get paid. And so you would need a PayPal account or whatever it is that you're going to use set up in a way so that you can get paid through that. And then, of course, there's setting up your shop, but that gets into more the creative side of it than just the legal bare bones, what you have to have. So we'll move on to the next question. Is it worth it to be self-employed? Speaking about taxes here. I think this is a really interesting question, because I think it's a very good question, but I could also see a couple different ways of taking this. One being, you know, on your tax form, after you've paid your taxes and everything like that, that bottom line number, is that sufficient to be profitably self-employed? So I could see it being taken that way, or I could see it being taken in a more personal sense of self-employment taxes and all the work that goes into that side of it. Is it really worth doing all that work being self-employed? Either way though, the answer is very individual, and it could be yes and it could be no. It can be very worth it if you decide you really want to do it, if you have the time to do it, if it's not going to seriously interfere with things in your life that are more important. It can be very worth it, and if you price accordingly, you can make profit doing it. But it could also be the type of thing where it's not worth it. I may reach a point in my life where I don't have time to do this anymore, where if it starts interfering with my family or with my faith or anything that it would get in the way of, it wouldn't be worth it to me anymore. In fact, there are aspects of my business that people sometimes want me to do certain kind of design work, but the amount of time those particular projects would take, it's not worth it to me, and so I've not pursued that. So it's very important to take a look at it and see, is this something that's worth pursuing to me? And one thing to ask yourself is, why do I want to open a business? Why do I want to do it? What am I hoping to get out of it? And if your answer is, well, I have a hobby that I like to do and I thought I could make money from my hobby. I've heard it said, and I think it can be true, not always, but I think it can be true, that that's a really good way to ruin a good hobby. If your only goal is to just keep doing your hobby and money to come in, all the business side of things will start to get stressful and weigh you down if that's not really what you're wanting to do. It's great to have a hobby. It's great to make money from your hobby, but you also have to want to run a small business, or else that part's just going to weigh on you. I like doing that. The taxes and stuff are not fun, and the paperwork, but the how do you run a small business part of it, I enjoy that. I think that's fun. And maybe I'm a nerd, but I enjoy it. So that doesn't weigh on me the way it would if I just had a hobby, if my art was only a hobby that I just want to make money from. To me, my art is also part of my business. That's how I want to pursue it. And so I enjoy both sides. I enjoy the creative side, but I also enjoy the business side. So I think that's something to think about. Is this something, do I really want to pursue a business? Or would I maybe enjoy it more if I keep it as a hobby and enjoy that as a more leisurely activity than as a business activity? So I think that's a very individual question, but I think it's a very good one to ask before starting out. Is this worth it to me? Why do I want to do it? What am I hoping to get out of it? Do I have the time to do it? But that is something that you as an individual only can answer. But it's a very good thing to think about. On to the third question. How much do you keep on hand in stock, or do you make things as people order them? This depends on what you make. Vintage sellers will only list what they have in stock. A couture wedding dress designer will probably only do made to order. So it varies depending on your market. I'm thinking that Sierra is offering, I think she's talked about maybe some soap products, maybe some jewelry products. On those types of things, I would recommend making it ahead of time, having it in stock, and then selling it for that type of item. But starting out, I wouldn't recommend making hundreds and then listing them. I would recommend starting with about 25 to 30. You want to hit a right balance of making enough items that there's some options in your shop and your shop doesn't look like a ghost town of 2 items. But you also haven't made a huge inventory so that if you make something thinking this is going to sell great and then it doesn't, that you're not out a lot of money. So I would start with maybe 25 to 30, that's my personal opinion. And as things sell, remake them, relist them, maybe try adding some new products. And as you go from that point onward, you'll get a good idea of how much to have in stock, whether you want to start offering some made-to-order items, and so forth. But I would start with about 25 to 30 in-stock items. And then the last question, which is, I think, the most fun. Do you go all out on pretty packaging, or is simple packaging okay? I would answer this yes and yes to both. Well, okay, actually, I would caveat, instead of pretty packaging, I would say branded packaging. Go all out on branded packaging, but it's fine if it's simple. Simple and professional is great, but go all out on branding. You don't need like confetti and sparkles and razzle dazzle and things jumping out of the box and random swag that doesn't have anything to do with your product. You don't need that. Don't go all out on that. But do go all out on your packaging. And I prepared a short little video to show you how my packaging goes. I have a sticker that goes on the back of my print that has my name, my website name, and my tagline, so that, you know, a year later they'll still be able to know where that came from. And then all the way down to the tape that goes on my packaging that is in my branding colors, every step of it is designed to be branded, to say this came from Flourish Cafe. Don't forget it. This is where it came from. This is my brand. This is where you bought this from. And because everything about buying from my shop, I want it to be a branded experience. And that's what I would recommend going all out on. So I hope you'll enjoy this little video that shows how I do my packaging and how you can be branded but still keep it simple and professional. So I hope you'll enjoy this. Well, thank you so much for watching my vlog. If you have creative business questions you'd like to ask too, please leave them in the comments below so I can see if this is something that people would enjoy hearing more of, having your questions answered here. And thank you to Sierra for sending in your questions. And I'll look forward to seeing you back next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.